Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, Getting the Word Out, Tips for Being Your Own PR Machine at IMS 2023. My name is Ryan Baker. I am an RF Product Marketing Manager at Wolfspeed and have attended IMS for many years in the past, both on the marketing communication side as well as on the product marketing side. Currently, my role with IMS 2023 is chair for the MP3 committee, which is marketing, publicity, publications, and promotions. And I will really want to thank you for joining us today on tips on how to get the word out at IMS 2023. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping notes. On the right-hand side, you'll see the chat box. You can put any questions you may have in that chat box at any point throughout the webinar. We will answer them all at the end of the webinar. If we can't get to all of them, then we will follow up with you and provide information or feedback. Also, please note on the right-hand side, there are links available to the press lounge, information on the press lounge, a link to sign up and receive the press list. There is a link for the exhibitor promotional toolkit, as well as the speaker promotional toolkit. So that's it for the housekeeping items. Let me go on and have our esteemed panelists introduce themselves. Let's start with Geri, Lynne, LaCombe. Geri, if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the team.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Geri Lynne LaCombe, and I'm with Keysight Technologies Global Media and Public Relations team. Actually, I've been with the company for about 27 years, so I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Geri. Thanks for joining us. Jim, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure thing, Ryan. Thank you. I'm Jim Assurian. I'm Vice President and Business Development Engineer here at Reactel Incorporated. We've been an exhibitor at IMS for probably the last 20 or 25 years, and I'm hoping that myself and the rest of the folks on the panel will be able to impart some good information for the folks listening in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. Michelle Kopier, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Michelle Kopier. I am the Group Content Director as well as the Group Associate Publisher for the Design and Engineering Group at Endeavor Business Media, and I'm representing the brand Microwaves and RF for the discussion today.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. Pat, go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm Pat Hindle, Media Director at Horizon House Publications, covering Microwave Journal and Signal Integrity Journal. And Horizon House is also the exhibition manager for IMS and European Microwave Week.
Fantastic. So we have a bunch of very experienced people, both on the company side as well as on the publication side. So let's kick it off with our first question. First question that comes in are, what tips do you have for writing a memorable and impactful press announcement or product debut from an exhibitor perspective? And Geri, do you want to go ahead and address that one?
Sure. Thanks, Ryan. So basically, when we begin the press announcement process, we would like to answer the basic questions of who, what, where, and when. Also, convey what are we announcing, what would we like to deliver, and why is it important to our audience. It's important to have a short, compelling headline that lists, and then also list key features and customer benefits. Normally in bullet format. I think that's very helpful to consume as someone is reading the press release. And then, as needed, perhaps add associated company and or customer quotes, and then summarize with additional links or relevant information like white paper information, maybe video links, and something that will help if they need additional technical information or just general information about the product, maybe a product or solution webpage. And then, as needed, we also prepare a media kit, which would include, for example, a press release, relevant images, perhaps an FAQ, editorial backgrounder, spokesperson, biography information, again, multimedia links and/or links to additional information. So that's, in a short summary, that's pretty much the list that we go through and when we're administering a press release for IMS or any other solution that we may have to offer.
Very good insight. Thank you, Geri. Very helpful.
Sure.
Jim, if I could ask the same question to you, what tips do you have for writing a memorable and an impactful press announcement or product debut from an exhibitor perspective?
Geri hit on a lot of really good points about a good headline, features of whatever it is, whatever filter, we make filters that we're talking about, or multiplexer, the benefits, maybe some uses that in the industry, like, oh, I'm looking for something for 5G. We take a slightly different tack to it. We're a much smaller company than Keysight, and sometimes we need to make a little more noise in order to be noticed. So for us, if we're going to do a press release, it has to have like a little pizzazz or a little zip. It's got to be a little bit more than just, here's this filter and here's the specs and call me if you need it. So you've got to have a catchy headline, some interesting wording, maybe a play on words or just something to be a little bit more interesting than just, here's this part, please come see me if you want it. So that's typically our tactic on that. And at a minimum, it gets the word out, generally speaking. And, the better benefit is maybe it gets noticed, or, hey, that guy was kind of interesting with the way he wrote this up. Maybe we'll swing by their booth and talk to them. We're just trying to stand out, amongst all the other folks that make the same thing that we make.
Yeah, perfect, Jim. And maybe it's important for the attendees to the webinar to understand that Keysight is quite a large company that occupies is a sponsor of the show and occupies a larger exhibit floor area. And Jim does a great job representing the smaller companies that have, I think, Jim, what size booth do you have this year?
Oh, we're a 10 by 10.
10 by 10. So that perspective. So when you're thinking of putting questions in the chat, can get the perspective from a large and a small exhibitor. Okay, so for the second question, what are the major things a company should include in a press release or product announcement from the press perspective? Michelle, if you'd like to take that one.
Sure. So first, I just want to point out that it's important to understand that your press release is a starting point for content creation. It's not going to be the final piece. It's not going to be what runs explicitly on, for example, on microwaves and RF on the site or in the publication. So it's a starting off point. So our challenge as press is that we need to create content that is unique and valuable to our audience. So everything that you guys, that Geri and Jim already mentioned, listing out features, functionality, that the who, what, when, where, why, sort of everything in a bulleted, structured format is a great starting point for an editor to be able to look through and glean the key points that are most important from that company's perspective. One thing I would caution against is, of course, using any heavy marketing copy, things that state the first, the best, the only. Those sort of statements from an editorial perspective will get stripped out right away anyway, so it's a waste of your time and the space in your announcement. Always give a specific contact to follow up with directly from the company or PR agency so that the editor can seek out those additional quotes or information from someone for more robust coverage to create that unique content. So as long as they have somebody that they know they can contact to talk specifically about the product that you're launching or announcing in the press release, that'll be the easiest way for them to follow up and have a more robust conversation about that product and build up that unique piece of content. So, I mean, everything that Geri and Jim laid out to me is quite accurate. So I just wanted to point out those couple of key areas from a press perspective on press releases.
Yeah, no, those are great insider tips. Thank you, Michelle. So Pat, I'll pose the same question to you. What are the major things a company should include in a press release or product announcement from your perspective?
Yeah, I think what I would add is, really need to state what is the distinguishing feature or performance parameter, of this certain product. I mean, I always want to see all the specs, but what is the one that sets this piece apart from another one? And also, if needed, maybe some market or applications background, what was this designed for? What is it best suited to meet is a good thing. And always don't forget an image. It's so helpful to have an image because when we upload it to the website, it's so much more visual if you just have a nice image to go with it. Even if it's just the part, it's better if it's something more interesting, but something to go along with it definitely helps in the posting process.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the more questions about press releases. What is the best way for a company to get a press release to you regarding something that will release at IMS? When should they send it? What should they link to when they send it in? And Pat, you want to start us off on that one?
Sure. There's kind of two ways you can approach this. I mean, personally, I think the best way is to do it a week or two before, or even a few weeks before if it's a major show, so that the editors are able to look at it and cover it in maybe some pre-show coverage along with during the show. And the other one is to wait to do it during the show, so you try to get a big splash at the show. I think email is the best way. We get it to receive it. If anyone in our company gets an email press release, it always gets passed around and posted in our news. I think it's important to link to the different assets that we were just talking about. Data sheets, videos, any kind of background information, white papers, and things like that. The more things you link to, if we want to explore a story or something like that, we can dive into it and see a more detailed look on the applications or use of the product.
Okay, perfect. And so I'll pose the same question to you, Michelle. From your perspective, what is the best way for a company to get a press release to you regarding something that will be released at IMS? When should they send it, and what should they link to?
Sure. So I agree with Pat. Earlier the better. One thing to keep in mind is that, especially for microwaves and RF and other brands at Endeavor Business Media, we have the ability to embargo information until a specific date. Our content management system allows us to have content published and ready to go at a dedicated time in the future. So the earlier you get it to us, the better we're able to create that that coverage and really amplify it to launch on a particular date, if that's what if that's what's important. So don't worry about the information getting out too early. Just make sure that you articulate what that embargo date is for the information that you're providing. When it comes to links within the press release, everything we've kind of already mentioned before, link to informational videos, link to other related materials and downloads like white papers, case studies, technical sheets, everything that you can think of that would help an editor build out robust coverage. And then another thing I just kind of wanted to add in is just to remember to think digital first. Print products have a set time where they are produced and shipped. So if you're worried about a print deadline, or you're worried about when content is going to be delivered to a print audience, you're going to end up with some sort of delay, or it's not going to hit on that exact date. We're very digital first now in media. So always be thinking, exactly what date you want it to be up online. Our engineering community is looking online first when it comes to their information journey, especially when it comes to research and information on new announcements. So I would dismiss the idea of trying to align with a print product's launch or print publication date, and just think that digital mindset first. Obviously, print still has some value to audiences when they're at a show or they're paging through something. But when it comes to an announcement, I would just remind to, think digital and those embargo dates, and getting content up online on a specific date is of no problem, as long as you're noting the embargo date.
Hey, Michelle, let me pull on that real quick. If you could just, not everybody on the call may understand the process of embargo with a trade publication like you and Pat work at. Embargo is, if you could just elaborate on that real quick.
Yeah, so embargo is basically just you inform us when, so if you're launching a product, on May 7th, and you want to get us that information today, you just note that the embargo date is May 7th, and then the editors will know that this information is not public until that embargo date. So then when we have that information, we know that May 7th is when this information can go live. So anything that we do with that press information or all the information that you've provided us will be on hold until May 7th or after. So the embargo date is just a date that you set in stone that says this information is not public until this date.
Okay, perfect. Love that. Okay, let's move on to our next question. And I guess we'll start with Jim on this one. Jim, can you step us through your process before an event to be sure your company gets the most out of any potential press coverage?
Sure. We start thinking about IMS. I mean, it's like I'm almost always thinking about IMS because that's our biggest conference push of the year, right? You know, we're a small company, all the industries together in one shot, every June-ish somewhere. So that's our time to, be there and present ourselves. So for about the past, since 2009, we've created a special IMS-focused ad to run in the journal, which is who we advertise with, and we run it for 2 or 3 months, depending on how quickly I can get it done. Leading up to the show, and it mentions our booth number and come visit us. Sort of those things, but it's something different. It's not this ad like here's these filters, here are these specs. Call us if you need us. It's a little bit different, and it keeps things interesting. Mixes up our ads. We have this sort of template that we've been using for the last number of years for our IMS focused ads. On top of that, as we approach the show, we try to take advantage of any promotional opportunities that are offered by any of the magazines or even by IMS itself, from something as big as submitting product releases to run in magazines, to information for the On-Show Daily newsletter that the journal puts out, to something even as small as we're going to make sure that on the map of the floor or the floor plan for the exhibition, it has our logo in our booth and not just a brown box that says Reactel 614 in it. So try to sort of keep hitting it and keep touching IMS, all that we're leading to it to, again, generate some traffic to our booth, because we're kind of a niche product, right? If you don't need a filter, you're not coming to us. So we try to get people that maybe don't need one but might need one or think about it to want to show up. So we try to hit with these different things. And if we have something exciting to announce, we got a new technology that we're using or a great use for something that we're building, we'll create a press kit, or at a minimum reach out to the press folks that we personally know, and hopefully we'll get a little more attention from them, saying, hey, this is what we're showcasing in our booth this year. So we try to touch on a bunch of different areas to reach people in a number of different ways, and hopefully it works.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jim. So Geri, I'll ask the same question to you at Keysight. Can you step us through your process before an event to be sure your company gets the most out of any potential press coverage?
Sure. And I'm going to speak on behalf of, I'm going to look at it and speak at it as an earned media coverage or press coverage perspective. So I know that Jim mentioned advertisement, and I understand, with a smaller company, many people wear many hats, and it's needed in order to obtain the coverage that you need, but I'm going to strictly discuss it from a press or earned coverage perspective. And so what our team does is that we align with our company event team perhaps a couple of months in advance, and we understand what are we showcasing, how are we involved at IMS, and what opportunities would we potentially have from a media perspective. So we also reach out to the event owners to understand what is needed and what's available in order to promote our company at the event from an earned perspective. For example, what are the deadlines? May we post press releases? Where can we post press releases? Whom do we contact in order to do that? What are the media opportunities from a video or interview perspective? And also, how can we sync with the event social team to communicate relevant media information or announcements? And that also, in turn, is what we do within our company. We sync with our social team to ensure that we also have those media announcements ready to go when we are announcing it from a media perspective. So we also want to understand if what relevant new products will be launched either before or at the event, and what are we going to showcase, who are our spokespeople, and when I mention spokespeople, what is their availability? We need to have their biographical information, headshot images, and then also begin work to prepare a press release for any of these high-level announcements and the media content associated with those high-level media announcements. A couple weeks in advance, we administer a news advisory, and basically what a news advisory is our way to communicate to the media what the company will showcase and any activities that the company will be involved in at the show. So what's important, we don't have a long list of items of what we will do at a particular show, but if something is pretty high level or exciting where, wow, we really want to showcase this to the media, we'll add that to our news advisory. And again, that's administered generally around a couple of weeks before the show. Didn't want to really send that out too early or too late. So I think 2 weeks is a good time frame. And then we pitch highlights to the media and in advance to the news advisory. So I believe Michelle had mentioned items under embargo. So if we have a big release that we will showcase first at IMS, for example, but because we are a global company, so this would hit the U.S., for example, first, or anyone attending IMS, we would normally send that information under embargo in advance, and then state this is when the announcement will occur and follow the embargo process. And then also we pitch to the media to secure in-booth demonstrations and solution demonstrations or video opportunities and interviews. Or perhaps, again, as I had mentioned, perhaps we have someone like a vice president, for example, speaking at one of at micro apps or something like that. That's an example. We would like to showcase that and then let the media know we have a vice president speaking at this certain event, and this would be an excellent opportunity to learn more about that specific topic. And then also, as we probably all know, we want to obtain the registered media list. That way we're communicating directly to people, media, who will be at the event. So that's always helpful. And basically that's the preparation, but it's a continuous process, pitching and also scheduling appointments and following up and aligning with both our company's event team and then the event owners at IMS in this case.
Very good insight, Geri. Thank you. And I like your point on, getting the word out about thought leadership if you're speaking at any of the IMS sessions.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. The next question we have here is, what do you tell engineers who are staffing a booth or giving demos about how to prepare for a press visit? And Jim, what do you tell engineers at Reactel's booth?
Basically, I try to keep them calm and settle any sort of apprehension they might have about participating in a video, or even just a sort of a face-to-face interview where whatever reporter is there or editor is writing things down. Oftentimes, engineers are a bit hesitant to talk. I'm one of the exceptions to that, perhaps, I don't know. But getting them to be able to talk and open up and speak comfortably about what we're trying to speak about, or what they're trying to speak about, is pretty important. From the content side, it will give them some reminders, some bullet points, maybe something written down, and some applications about the filter that they're talking about, relevant applications to whatever's sort of going on in the industry today. So it's more just giving them the right information and getting them comfortable in imparting the knowledge they have to whomever it is that they're speaking to. That's sort of our goal.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jim. And Geri, from your perspective, what do you tell engineers who are staffing the booth or giving demos about how to prepare for a press visit?
Yes, and I agree with Jim. Absolutely, Jim. That comfort level is important. And to assist with this, and you may do this as well, to assist with the comfort level is that if we have a scheduled visit, we normally provide the engineer with an editorial backgrounder stating, like, who are they meeting with, what is their title, what is the publication's name, how have they reported on Keysight. I'm using Keysight, for example, as an example, but and then a little background on the editor. So then, and a picture of the editor. That way, they know who they're visiting with, and perhaps that will assist a little more in the comfort level. And then also, for video, you had mentioned video. We do like to keep those short, and I also mention to the engineers, so if we're going to do a video, let's keep it short, because we can leverage that video in social, approximately no more than 3 minutes, perhaps. I know some of our videos go longer, but 3 minutes is really the sweet spot there. And then I ask them to make sure the workstation is tidy. They are tidy because they're going to be on camera. I normally ask them to remove their badge because that will conflict with the microphone sometimes and hit the microphone, and that's sometimes an issue. And then also have them introduce themselves, regardless if it's video or it's an in-person interview with no video. State their title and then provide a short overview of the demonstration and convey how it helps our customers. And then sum it up by, for additional information, contact, you can see Keysight.com for additional information. Just really state a call to action at the end. And then we also mentioned to our engineers or our personnel that all media inquiries need to go to members of the company's public relations team. And then they need to involve our team if we are on site and make sure that we're part of the conversation. And then also, if we are not on site or in a particular visit, that they state that media follow-up will be by members of the company's public relations team, so we can understand and work with the media and the relationships that we have built with the media to effectively provide the media with the information that's needed. That way, it's a smooth process, and we're also sticking on brand and on message. So it's been pretty helpful for our engineers as we kind of prep them in that fashion.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Thank you, Geri.
Sure.
Okay, so moving over to the editorial side, can you tell us about the perfect booth visit for you at an event like IMS? How do you use that information? Pat, do you want to kick us off on the perfect booth visit for you at an event like IMS?
Sure. This has actually come up before, and one person who really took this to heart was Matt Diesner at Wireless Telecom Group. This was many years ago. We sat down and we said, look, if we come to the booth, it's great to have demos, meaningful demos that show an application as an example, and have a little summary of what you're showing here and why it's important. And so when I go to the Wireless Telecom booth, he hands me a handout, one pager for every demo, and it has everything about what equipment's used, what the purpose of the demo is, and what the applicability is to different markets. And it's just such a great, way to do it, to be that prepared, and plus not only having it good for the press, that's great for your customers. If you can show a customer the demo and then hand them a sheet with all the part numbers used and all the specs and the applications that it's meant for, is a great way to do it. So to me, booth visit is an overview of what you're showing, the specific demos that you're showing, go step through each one, and the product introductions. And then I always like to set aside some time to discuss possible editorial contributions in the future. If there's any new products that are there, we could write about the products, or if there's new technology or capabilities, then we can talk about articles on that based on that type of thing. So that to me is, a perfect way to do it, is to, cover your products, newer products introduction, your demos, and then any editorial contributions.
Very good, Pat. Yeah, getting life out of IMS after IMS is over, right? Okay, Michelle, I'll have the same question to you. Can you tell us about the perfect booth visit for you at an event like IMS, and how do you use that information?
Sure. So I think I just want to take one step back and just kind of mention that in our world, a perfect booth visit actually starts before the show. So having that correspondence with the editor that's going to be at the event and establishing who they're going to be meeting with and what they're going to be discussing, if we can do it in advance of the show, we could even at that point have mapped out some specific questions so that your subject matter expert is actually prepared to answer those specific questions, so that they're not, fumbling on camera or anything if a question catches them off guard or they aren't sure how to answer. So establishing that sort of connection in advance of the show will make that visit even more effective. Also, if that person is going to be on camera as well, having those questions mapped out in advance, knowing who they're going to be speaking with, it just kind of makes the whole process a lot smoother. So I just kind of wanted to just state that, a perfect booth visit technically starts in advance of the show. When we do get there, though, to Pat's point, if you have a demonstration, make sure that the person that is there gives a brief overview of, why this product is beneficial to the market, some features, just go over, the normal course of discussion that would already have been planned for how you're presenting that product at the show. And then how we use that information is, the editor will take the interview product that was created, whether that is just audio, whether that was just notes, or whether it was on video. And we take that along with any of the press kit information that you've provided us, and we craft up a more robust piece to put in any of our, website, magazine product, etc.
Okay, that's good insight. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, the next question comes from the new exhibitor perspective, and I think we have over 50 new exhibiting companies this year at IMS in San Diego. What do you wish every new exhibitor knew about the trade press, and what you need to file your report after the event? And Michelle, if you want to kick us off with that one.
Sure. So one thing to keep in mind is that from a legal standpoint, if we have done any sort of video content, there is typically going to be a release that has to be signed for us to be able to utilize your likeness. So just make sure that, if it's the public relations person that needs to sign off on it or anything, there will be some legal forms that need to be signed for us to be able to utilize video that we capture at the event. Other than that, I think that I would just like exhibitors to know that, editors are seeking out exclusive content. And I kind of mentioned this before, but we can't just pick up a press release and call it content anymore. We need to have those experts on hand at the event to either conduct an interview or have somebody ready to have post-show follow-up if you don't have that subject matter expert available at the event, so that the editor can follow up and create that unique piece of content for us to be able to utilize. One thing, images, Pat mentioned, images are important. I would also add the caveat that high resolution images are important. Even when it comes to the digital space, a low resolution image, dependent on the scale and where it's going to be used, low resolution is just not the way to go anymore. So just make sure that the files that you're providing are high resolution. And if you have video elements to supplement the content or product that you're going to be talking about, video content is just becoming paramount. It's becoming essential. You can't hide from it. If that's something that you need the media to help create, that's an option. But if you have those sort of things, just make sure that you have them ready and either included and linked within the press content that you already have in your press kit as a follow-up. And that, a technical video showing the technology in action, a 3D simulation video, or even a subject matter expert talking about the features of the product. All of those are great assets to include. So I guess in sum, I would just say that, a press release is no longer, all that you need to have on hand. It really needs to be a well-rounded multimedia effort, and the media is there to help you. So it's not something you have to do on your own.
I think that's a key point too, Michelle, that the media is there to help provide that multifaceted review of the products or whatever information they're trying to get out. Pat, I'll sort of pose the same question to you. What do you wish every new exhibitor knew about the trade press and what you need to file a report after IMS?
So I think that's the most important thing, is to keep in mind that, we're your partner. We're not like there to, we're not like a reporter from a newspaper. We are a partner to help you promote your items and, get coverage and educate an audience on your products or capabilities. So we like to sit down and, work with you strategically to think about how things are positioned, and then, work with you to get you the exposure and educational material. Like Michelle said, we can help you create it. We can write stuff. We can have contributed things. There are many ways that we can help you get the word out about your products or capabilities. And, just always be prepared. Like we've said a million times, people really, you should practice your demos and be prepared to just be able to step through them comfortably. And then also follow up after the event. We're happy to discuss coverage after the event, possible contributions or, involvement in panels and videos and podcasts. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved with the editorial side and promotional side.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pat. Okay, next question. If you don't have a new product to debut, what are other strategies you employ to get press coverage? Geri, what's your perspective on that one?
Basically, we review with the team what we have available, and also understand what is newsworthy or exciting and innovative that we may want to convey if it's not a new product. Perhaps we're speaking at this highly technical area, and it's what we have to say is breakthrough. Perhaps it's innovative. We haven't stated it in the past. That may be something that we can focus on versus a new solution. And I would say basically that's what it is. It's really a fact-finding process, and I feel it has to be newsworthy in order to get the media's attention.
Yeah, good point. So, Jim, how about from your perspective, if you don't have a new product to debut at IMS, what are other strategies you employ to get press coverage?
Yeah, I agree with Geri. It's got to be newsworthy. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting everybody's time. So what we try to do, if we don't have anything new, because generally filters are more sort of reactionary. The market has this, 5G's out, so we need filters for 5G, right? Those types of things. So maybe there's products or things that we've been making in the past that all of a sudden have a use now for something that's sort of a hot button technology that's out there. So if we don't have anything brand new we're bringing, we can talk about maybe some of our legacy products that have new life with these new technologies that are coming out. So when we don't have anything new to present, we present something old but in a new light.
Okay, perfect. And Michelle, you had a comment on this question as well?
Yeah, just from the editorial perspective, I wanted to mention that if you don't have a new product that you're launching at a show, an opportunity that you can come to the editors with is that thought leadership side of things. How is your company or your product portfolio playing into the trends of the market? How does the filters that you have, how is that helping shape the progress of the market? Or how is a particular technology or disruption in the marketplace? How is that pivoting how you're thinking about your technologies? That sort of like macro perspective is a really good way to kind of put yourself into the discussion from a thought leadership perspective, and still gives value to the editors as they're covering the emergent points of the industry. So if you don't have if you don't have a product, that's okay. You still probably have something to say about how your company is involved in the progress of the industry. And that's another thing that people want to be hearing about is, where is this industry going and how am I participating in that?
Yeah, good points, Michelle. Pat, very similar question to you. If you want to chime in, if you don't have a new product to debut at IMS, what are other strategies that will help get press coverage for the company?
Yeah, adding to what Michelle said, that not only is there thought leadership, you can write about market trends, anything that's new with your company. If you've expanded a facility, you have new technologies, new manufacturing capabilities, you can set up executive interviews. We do a thing called Fabs and Labs, which is about people's facilities and capabilities. So there's many different ways you can approach it, and keep in mind, this can be pre-show too. We do an IMS microsite. We do online show daily newsletters. I know the other media, if there's a lot of pre-show coverage you can get involved in, and then during the show, you can make a splash through, we do photo galleries, we do videos on site, and, the editorial side as far as getting us any of the content that we just discussed is, definitely relevant.
Okay, good. Thank you, Pat and Michelle. Next question for Jim. After IMS, what kind of follow-up do you do with the press after the visits?
Well, first off, I'm going to thank them, afterwards, after the show ends, an email or a letter or something, just to thank them for carving out part of their busy 3 or 4 days at IMS to come see us. If I thought some publications, didn't give us coverage, maybe I'll ask them why. And, I can pick up on some of the things that Pat and Michelle have spoken about trying to be a little more relevant with what I'm presenting to them to make them want to come see me. I learned quite a bit from both Pat and Michelle today, so I'm going to tune up what I'm doing. And just ask them, what could we do better in order to get a little bit more coverage? And then if there's any feedback from customers about the coverage we had, we'll just sort of do normal, lead gen type follow-up beyond that. That's really about it.
Good. Yeah, good response, Jim. Geri, same question to you. After IMS is over, what do you do after the press visits?
Yeah, I agree with Jim. That's great. And we also, so what I do is I also learn more information as I speak with the editorial team when we're on site, see what additional information they may need, or either at that moment to write their story or even in the future. So post-IMS, I see that it could have a long tail, and we could pitch technical articles that are educational and surround perhaps the solutions that we showcased at the event, or a thought leadership piece that where we conveyed something at the event. We can also pitch an article around that topic, perhaps, and then also look for additional content to assist with the editor's story. So you can glean a lot of information as you're speaking with the editor, either digitally through email on the phone or at the event, and perhaps something else will come to mind that can really solidify the overall story that you want to convey. And then also ask the editor, do you need additional information to assist with your story? And perhaps it may not be something that you obtained directly at IMS, but in working with the company's event team, we may have additional information that perhaps I wasn't aware of at the moment, but it would actually complement what the editor is trying to convey with their story.
Excellent. Thank you, Geri. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, so moving, one of my last two final questions. I want to get everyone's perspective or thoughts on press kits. Maybe we'll start with the IMS exhibitors first, quickly here. So press kits, Jim, what are your thoughts?
So for us, press kits, if we have something special and new that we're going to announce, we'll go ahead and put something together. We'll do it digitally, either on a, USB drive of some sort, or email some digital information to the relevant magazines or press outlets that we're going to deal with, as well as some printed material as well in a nice folder or whatever, make a nice presentation. If we don't have anything, I'm not going to put together something that's just going to be a big waste of time for those folks to read through. So, I feel as though if I respect their time and have a decent press kit with some good information in there, it's going to get looked at, not just the same old with nothing in there that they're probably going to ignore. So while I feel press kits are great, I think for us, it's not something we do all the time.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Geri, your thoughts on press kits?
Agree, and I feel that they're valuable. So yes, we're not going to put together a press kit just because, and it's a media tactic that we would check the box. It has to be something where we place it together. It is digital, no paper, and it's excellent, valuable, compelling content that we place in a digital media kit, and we send that in advance, and we follow up with it as well. So I just feel they're valuable. And I have received comments from various editors, please do not give me more paper that I need to lug around at the event. I already have enough, that I'm trying to manage, and I don't need another piece of paper or a portfolio of paper.
Good point, Geri. Yeah, so now we have Michelle and Pat on the publication side, on the press side. What are your perspectives on press kits? Let's see, Michelle, do you want to go first?
Sure. Geri's comment made me laugh about the paper, because that's what I had written down as a perfect case scenario is send that as a link to a downloadable press kit in advance of the show with any embargo notations. Second best would be, a digital press kit or a flash drive if you have to, but I would even caution against flash drives because they're going to get a lot of those too, and those can get lost pretty easily. So your best course of action is always a downloadable press kit, just linked in a nice email outreach, letting them know that the press information is available, and just like we've mentioned several times, make sure to note any embargo dates so that none of that information gets out before you're ready.
Okay, perfect. And same question to you, Pat. What are your perspectives as an editor on press kits?
First of all, I love, the way Geri and Jim approach it, that they only do it for something significant. So we appreciate that greatly because that's not always the case. Yes, like Michelle said, an email or a link, pre-show preferably, that we can file away and put it in part of our post-show coverage is the best way. Flash drives do get lost, so that's not a great way to do it. And I don't mind paper as long as it's not like a book. I love when people do one-page summaries. It's just a nice reminder for me to read over and match up to emails. But I'm probably old school there, so it's probably not the typical editor.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all the questions that that we have today. I do want to ask one last question to our panelists. If there was anything else they would like to communicate to the exhibitors that are attending IMS, either longtime exhibitors or first-time exhibitors, about press and how they can get the word out. If there's any final thoughts, Geri, do you want to go first? Your final thoughts? And then we'll take questions from the audience.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Well, I feel it is valuable to listen to what the media requires and needs. Ensure your company provides educational, non-promotional content to the media. Stay within your company brand and messaging, and follow up and to ensure that you're providing complete and compelling content to journalists, and you adhere to their specific editorial deadlines, which is very important.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Geri. Jim, anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I'll keep it real short when it comes to dealing with the press here. Be relevant and be timely, and have something important to say, and do it early so you can get on their schedule.
Yeah, good points, Jim. Michelle, anything else you would like to add?
The only thing is, just a reminder that there are a lot of pre-show opportunities to start building up that excitement for the show. We could do video interviews where you talk about, a pending technology, or, if you're able to talk in more detail, and start building up that enthusiasm for people to come and see you at the show and learn a little bit more after they get the taste from a video interview or a pre-show piece of content that's created. But then I also would kind of remind that you don't want to lose traction after an event. You don't want to have this big launch, this big product announcement, and then just kind of go silent. So make sure that you have sort of a long tail plan for what does the significance of this product launch or whatever you're talking about at the show, what sort of relevancy can you bring to the market for the months that follow the show, so that you can kind of lengthen that tail of all of the effort that you go in to be, very popular or seen at the show, so that you don't lose that conversation, that thread with our audience. So just make sure that you kind of have a pre, during, and post-show plan for what that message looks like, and then factor in how the media can help get that message out.
Yeah, perfect, Michelle. Thank you. A nice comprehensive plan is a good approach. Pat, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. It is a long period of time. You want to get coverage, and so it's good to make a timeline up, leading up a few months, and then even during the show, and then after the show, and be relevant with different pieces of content, from social media to videos to articles, and get some exposure pre-show and at the show highlights. We haven't talked a lot about social media, but I think we should delve into that. There's definitely a lot going on during the show. You can use a lot of your videos. You can take video clips and your pictures and use them after the show and during the show for social media posts, highlights on your website. So think about it as a full timeline of events over several months that you prepare for.
Yeah, good point. And so I'll go to one of the questions in the chat, which pulls on social. Maybe ask a couple of the panelists. Which social media platforms get the most traction at IMS? So we happen to have someone on the team here on the call that manages some of the social media platforms for IMS, and that's Amanda. And she said LinkedIn is probably the most popular throughout the year, followed by Facebook. but actually the week of, the week before, the week of IMS, and the week following IMS, Twitter and Instagram are the most used during the actual event. So I don't know if editors, Michelle and Pat, if you can comment on what you think is the most best social media platform for the IMS show. What gets the most traction?
I mean, yeah, I would say that we mirror what you just said, that LinkedIn is what is most popular throughout the year and gets the most traction, engagement from our brand, Microwaves and RF. Facebook and Twitter are popular, but Twitter, especially, like you said, the week before, the week during, and the week after, we're using that a lot more, especially during the week of the show, because we're kind of live tweeting what we're hearing and what we're seeing at the show. So that becomes more of like a live feed of the event when we're using, Twitter in that quick sense. But when it comes to, the actual content or coverage, LinkedIn is that most engaged platform for our brand, for sure.
How about for your brand, Pat?
Yeah, same here. I definitely think those are the most relevant. And, I think you should think a little bit about the content that you're posting. If you can post, interesting things, short video clips that are educational, those go a long way. You'll get a lot more attention if it's more educational than just promotional about a product. And, also on LinkedIn, there's a bunch of groups, make sure you post in groups and utilize those. Anything on LinkedIn, it's not just about you posting personally, it's getting other people to help you out. And as an editor, we're happy to help out companies and engage with them closely. I know we work very close with Jim on, highlighting each other's material when relevant and, helping each other. We all in this together. We can partner together to, raise your noise level above where people will notice you.
Okay, perfect, Pat. And we only have a couple minutes left, but I want to get to one last question that was posted in the chat. It says, can we bring press kits in the press room? So the response to that is they will accept press kits in the press room on the Monday of IMS, so starting on Monday, June 12th at 1 o'clock. IMS will also be accepting them digitally. For more information on that, that will be sent to exhibitors very shortly. Another part of that question was PR Newswire at IMS. And so the IMS show is considering a partnership with a company like PR Newswire, and we'll let exhibitors know shortly when this will become available. And we'll probably have time for one more. There was another question that popped into the chat. It says, when will the media list be made available? The media list is currently available, and you can sign up to receive it by clicking the link on the right-hand side of this panel. In the resources section, fill out the smart sheet, and the media list will be sent on a bi-weekly basis. Okay, and I think that's probably it for questions for today. I want to thank everyone for attending. So thank you, Geri, Jim, Michelle, and Pat for being our panelists today and sharing your insight and thoughts as industry experts for IMS. And I invite the audience. We will have another exhibitor-focused webinar on Thursday, April 27th. So please join us for that one if you are available. And if you have any questions for today, Amanda put her contact information up there. Sorry, Amanda, I was reading off the other page, but if you go back one slide. Yeah, so if you need to reach out, you can email Amanda as well. Her information's listed right there. And then, Amanda, if you can go to the next slide about next Thursday's webinar, then we can. Perfect. So information that will be shared at the next webinar on the 27th is listed here. If you have any questions, please send them in advance if you can. If not, we will be happy to address them live at the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. I really appreciate your time. We hope you found this information helpful. I believe we will be showing saving this for people to download on demand after the event is over. So we should be sending out a link for that. Look for that probably in LinkedIn as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.